On July 12, 1943, the Battle of Prokhorovka saw nearly 800 tanks engaged in a day-long clash, marking one of the largest tank battles in history. This fierce encounter epitomized the brutal struggle between German engineering prowess and Soviet numerical superiority. In the dense forests of Russia, the ground thundered under the weight of the Tiger I as it rolled towards Kursk in 1943, embodying a leap in armored warfare technology. Engineered by Henschel, the Tiger I, officially designated as Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger Ausf. E, was unleashed on the Eastern Front, equipped with an 88mm gun capable of decimating enemy tanks from over 2,000 meters away. Its nearly impenetrable front armor, up to 100mm thick, instilled fear among Allied tank crews. The narrative of German tank operator Kurt Knispel, the highest-scoring tank ace of World War II, paints a vivid picture of the Tiger's dominance, recounting how his crew destroyed a staggering 168 enemy tanks, largely due to the technological superiority of the Tiger I. Parallel to the Tiger, in 1943, the Panther tank, or Panzerkampfwagen 5 Panther, made its battlefield debut at Kursk. With a sleek design prioritizing speed and agility, the Panther featured a high-velocity 75mm gun and sloped armor which deflected incoming shots more effectively than its contemporaries. Fritz Lang, a Panther commander, described the tank's introduction as a game changer, able to engage Soviet T-34s before they could come within effective range of the Panther. This technological edge was crucial as the Wehrmacht faced the colossal numbers of the Soviet armored corps. However, the deployment of these supertanks was not without its challenges. The complex engineering of both the Tiger and Panther resulted in frequent mechanical failures. Heinz Guderian, a prominent general in the German army, noted in his diaries the frustration of maintaining these advanced machines, particularly the Panthers during their initial sorties at Kursk, where they suffered from engine and transmission issues. This drawback starkly contrasted with the robust simplicity of Soviet tanks, which, although technologically inferior, could be produced and repaired in vast quantities. The strategic importance of the Tiger and Panther was underscored during key confrontations like the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history, where they were tasked with breaching the extensive defensive lines of the Soviets. Despite their technological superiority, the German tanks were met with an unexpected challenger: the vast numbers of the Soviet armored units. The sheer volume of Soviet forces overwhelmed German tactical advantages on several occasions, leading to high casualties and loss of valuable tanks. Personal accounts from tank operators reveal the psychological toll of such relentless combat. Johann Huber, a Tiger tank gunner at Kursk, recounted the horror of steel beasts colliding in a dance of death, where the outcome was often determined not by technological superiority, but by sheer endurance and numbers. This emotional peak in the narrative showcases the human element amidst the clash of technological titan and numerical giant. The rise of Germany's supertanks marked a significant chapter in the arms race of World War II, showcasing remarkable technological achievements. Yet, as the war of attrition dragged on the Eastern Front, the strategic deployment of these tanks highlighted a critical junction: innovation versus mass production, a theme that would continue to define the brutal armored engagements of the conflict. As Germany introduced formidable tanks like the Panther and Tiger, the Soviet Union leaned heavily on its strategy of mass production with the T-34 tank, a design exemplar in simplicity and effectiveness. By 1943, Soviet factories, relocated eastward away from the front lines and the threat of German bombers, were producing T-34s at a rate of around 1,300 tanks per month. This overwhelming production capability allowed the Soviet Red Army to replace losses quickly and outnumber the German panzers, which could not be produced at such an accelerated pace due to their complex technology and costly materials. The simplicity of the T-34's design also meant it could be operated and repaired with relative ease by crews often under intense pressure and lacking advanced technical training. Former Soviet tank commander Ivan Petrovich recounted in his 1976 memoir, "In the heat of battle, we could replace a damaged engine within hours, under open sky, while German crews struggled with even minor repairs." This resilience was pivotal during key offensives, such as the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, where Soviet numerical superiority and rapid operational tempo overwhelmed the technically superior but numerically inferior German tanks. Soviet tactical deployment evolved markedly in response to the challenges posed by the high-quality German armor. Initially suffering heavy losses, the Red Army adapted by improving coordination between infantry, artillery, and tanks, effectively using their numerical advantage to flank and besiege German positions, compelling the Germans into defensive stances that diluted their technological edge. This shift is illustrated by the Battle of Prokhorovka, one of the largest tank battles in history, where over 600 Soviet tanks clashed with about 300 German tanks, showcasing the Soviet strategy of using sheer numbers to achieve tactical superiority. Eyewitness accounts from Soviet tank crew members underscore the horrifying and relentless nature of these confrontations. Mikhail Koshkin, a driver in a T-34, described the scene at Prokhorovka. Bodies of men and horses, destroyed tanks, and burned trees covered the landscape. The earth itself seemed to have been altered. Such vivid personal testimonies highlight the brutal reality faced by Soviet tank crews, often young men thrust into a relentless fight against a technically adept enemy. Concluding, the Soviet reliance on quantity over quality, epitomized by the mass production of the T-34, created a distinct battlefield dynamic against Germany's supertanks. This approach not only compensated for individual vehicle inferiority, but also allowed Soviet commanders to exploit the sheer scale of their armored forces to execute large-scale encirclements and sustained offensives, gradually wearing down German capabilities. The relentless tide of Soviet armor, coupled with tactical adaptability, decisively shifted the balance on the Eastern Front, setting the stage for the monumental clashes that would ultimately determine the course of the war in the East. The Battle of Kursk, beginning on July 5, 1943, represents the epitome of tank warfare on the Eastern Front, a true clash of titans. Here, the Germans deployed their formidable Tiger and Panther tanks, engineering marvels designed for superiority, against the vast arrays of Soviet T-34s and the heavy KV series. The Germans' Operation Citadel aimed to encircle Soviet forces in the Kursk salient with a pincer movement, but Soviet intelligence had forewarned them, allowing massive fortifications and the amassing of a staggering number of tanks and anti-tank weapons. At Prokhorovka, one of the largest tank battles in history unfolded on July 12th. Over 800 Soviet tanks engaged with around 600 German tanks in a merciless exchange of fire. Ivan Petrov, a T-34 commander, recounted the surreal intensity of the battle. "We fought amidst explosions so loud that I thought the earth would swallow us whole. The sight of a Tiger tank was terrifying, but we knew we had numbers on our side." The Germans, initially confident in their technological edge, found themselves mired in a war of attrition against an enemy with seemingly endless reserves. The sheer scale of the confrontation at Kursk, and particularly at Prokhorovka, demonstrated the formidable Soviet resolve and the effectiveness of their pre-war industrialization efforts. By late August, the Germans had not only failed to achieve their objectives, but had also lost a significant portion of their tank forces. Notably, the battle marked the first time the Panther tank was used in combat, revealing both its mechanical flaws and its potential lethal effectiveness. The Germans suffered approximately 500 tank losses, a blow to their armored strength they could ill afford given the ongoing demands on all fronts. The psychological impact on both sides was profound. Gerhard Steinke, a Panther tank gunner, reflected later, describing the relentless Soviet counterattacks. Each day we held our breath, wondering how many more tanks they could throw at us. It became a fight not just of machines, but of spirit. Meanwhile, Soviet tank crews grew in confidence, their initial fear of German technological superiority overcome by the realization of their own growing tactical prowess and sheer numerical advantage. Strategically, the failure at Kursk signaled a crucial turning point in the war on the Eastern Front. The Germans were forced into a defensive war, increasingly outmatched in both production and manpower. The Soviets, buoyed by their defense at Kursk, launched a series of successful offensives, pushing westward with renewed vigor. The tides of war had turned irrevocably. As the dust settled on these monumental battles, the enduring legacy of these clashes continued to shape military tactics and technology. Tank designs from both sides underwent rapid evolution in response to battlefield experiences, influencing post-war armored warfare developments. The psychological scars and stories of unparalleled bravery and endurance left by these encounters formed a crucial chapter in the collective memory of World War II, reminding future generations of the sheer scale and ferocity of the conflict on the Eastern Front. The relentless encounters between German supertanks and the vast Soviet tank forces not only defined the Eastern Front, but also demonstrated the pivotal role of armor in modern warfare. This clash of titans was not just a test of mettle, but of strategic wit and human courage. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe button for more fascinating historical deep dives every week. Thanks for watching.